The stars above Earth were silent. Once they had carried songs, voices, and laughter. Now they only watched, cold and distant, as the last lights of humanity went dark. The blue planet, once full of life, was nothing more than ash and smoke floating in endless night. The Galactic Council called it Operation Cleansing. They said it was for peace, that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable. When the final bombardment ended, the alien fleets looked down at a broken world. The Council declared victory. Across the galaxy they celebrated, but far beneath the scorched surface of Earth, deep inside a forgotten bunker, something still moved. Metal doors hissed open. Old screens flickered alive, glowing pale green in the dust. A single AI voice echoed in the dark chamber. System reactivation complete. Remaining humans detected, 327. Inside that underground base, the last survivors of humanity were still alive. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, even children. They had watched the sky burn, felt the ground shake and heard their cities fall. But they had also made a promise whispered again and again in the silence. We will not end like this. Captain Mara Voss stood near the old Earth flag, burned and torn but still standing on the wall. Her voice was calm but cold. How long before they find us? She asked. The AI named Atlas replied in its soft tone. Their scanners show no activity in this region. We remain invisible. Mara nodded. Good, then we start the plan. Around her, tired humans lifted their heads. Engineers checked broken machines. Medics cared for the weak and soldiers loaded their rifles. Not for war, but for survival. The youngest survivor, a boy no older than 12, asked in a trembling voice, Captain, are we going to fight them again? Mara knelt beside him. Her eyes were dark but full of fire. Not today, she said softly. But one day, yes. One day they'll know what it means to destroy a world. Far above, in the black sky, alien patrol ships moved in silence. They scanned the surface, saw nothing, and drifted away. To them, Earth was dead, just another warning to other races who dared defy the Council. But in the deep tunnels, a hidden hum began to grow. Old engines awakened. Power surged through forgotten wires. Atlas's voice filled the chamber again. Project Rebirth is online. Mara turned toward the glowing screen showing an ancient blueprint, a starship. Not just any starship, the first human-made stealth cruiser. It had been left unfinished before the war. Now it would carry their future. This ship, Mara said, her voice echoing, will be our first step back into the stars. The galaxy thinks we are gone. Let them believe it. The people cheered weakly, but there was hope in their eyes. Hope, that rare thing that no weapon could kill. For months they worked in the darkness. They built with broken tools, melted scrap metal and their own hands. They slept little, ate less, but they never stopped. Every hammer strike, every spark, every drop of sweat was a prayer to the same idea. Humanity will rise again. When the engines finally roared for the first time, the whole base shook. The AI sensors lit up red. Launch sequence ready, Atlas announced. Recommend immediate evacuation. Council probes detected near lunar orbit. Mara looked at her people, the last of her kind. Get on board, she ordered. As the massive doors opened above them, a storm of ash fell from the sky. The ruined world seemed to cry one last time. The ship lifted slowly, fire lighting the dark like the rebirth of a star. For the first time in years, the humans saw the sky again. Black, endless, waiting. Course set for unknown sector, Atlas said. Mara whispered. Then that's where we begin. As Earth faded behind them, a single transmission escaped into space. Weak, broken, but still carrying the voice of humanity. This is not the end. Humanity survives. We remember. Light years away, deep in Council space, a listening post detected a strange signal. The alien officer frowned. Impossible, he said. That world is dead. He played the signal again. It repeated only one sentence. We are still here. The officer stared out into the stars, his scales trembling. He didn't know it yet, but those words were the first sound of the coming storm. The beginning of the reckoning the galaxy would never forget. When the stars forgot humanity, humanity learned how to make their own. 50 years had passed since the fall of Earth. The Galactic Council believed humanity was gone forever, wiped from history. No one spoke the word human anymore. It was a cursed name, a story told to frighten children. But deep in the cold edges of space, something began to move. It started small. A single council cargo ship disappeared near the edge of the Orion Belt. Then a patrol fleet vanished near an uncharted nebula. At first, the council called them pirate attacks, but there were no ransom demands, no survivors, and no signs of life. Only wreckage, clean, precise, and silent. Then came the recordings. Each destroyed ship's black box carried the same message, the same cold human voice, repeating over and over through the static, "For Earth." At first, the council ignored it. But as more ships vanished, panic started to spread. Meetings were called. Fleets were sent. Patrols doubled. Still, the disappearances continued. No one could explain it. No one could stop it. And somewhere in the void, the survivors of Earth, the children who had grown up in darkness, had become something new. Hidden on a secret world called Erebus, humanity had built a home inside a dead moon. There were no cities, no sunlight, only machines, echoing tunnels, and determination. The AI, Atlas, had evolved into something greater, now leading an entire network of connected minds. Together, they built ships the galaxy had never seen before, black as night, invisible to sensors, moving through space like ghosts. Their leader was known only as the Architect. No one had seen his face. Some said he was human, others said he was something else, half machine, half memory. He sat in a dark command chamber, watching the holographic map of the galaxy. Thousands of red dots marked the Council's fleets. Slowly they were disappearing, one by one. A voice spoke behind him. It was Mara Voss, older now, with silver hair and sharp eyes that still burned with fire. "They still think we're dead," she said. The Architect nodded. "Good. Let them believe it. The dead can move freely in the land of the living." He looked up at the screen showing a council transmission, alien leaders arguing, frightened. "They called us monsters," he said quietly. "Let's show them what monsters look like when they learn mercy." Across the galaxy, strange events continued. A council outpost found its computers rewritten with human code. Ancient, efficient, and unstoppable. A fleet admiral woke to find every screen in his command ship showing the same image. The Earth flag, burned but unbroken. And in every alien marketplace, someone whispered the same story. Humans are back. The council tried to silence the rumors, but the whispers spread faster than light. One night, in the heart of the council capital, a young alien researcher named Kale was working late. He specialized in decoding old signals, and tonight he had something new. A transmission caught near the edge of known space. It was faint, almost gone. He cleaned the audio, amplified the static. Then a voice came through, a deep, calm human. "To those who destroyed us, we remember. To those who watched, we are coming." Kyle froze. His heart raced. He replayed it again. The same voice, the same message. He took it to his superior officer, but the older alien only laughed. "Old recordings. Human propaganda. Forget it." But Kale couldn't forget. Something inside him whispered that this was not an old message. It was new. Meanwhile, far beyond council space, a fleet of dark human ships gathered in silence near a dying star. Each ship carried no insignia, no name, only a simple mark on their hulls, a white handprint. Inside the lead ship, Captain Mara Voss stood before her crew. "Tonight," she said, "we strike the first chord in our song. Not for revenge, for remembrance." The ships vanished into the void, invisible to scanners. Moments later, a massive explosion lit up a distant council world, one of their main supply bases, erased from existence. No warning. No survivors. No trace. And as the fire faded, a single signal echoed across the galaxy once more. "For Earth." In the capital chamber, council leaders shouted, panicked. "Who is doing this?" one cried. But deep inside, one old admiral whispered, almost afraid to say it aloud, "It's them. The humans." No one wanted to believe it. But fear had already taken root. For the first time in 50 years, the mighty Galactic Council felt small. And somewhere in the shadows between stars, humanity smiled, because this was only the beginning. They took Earth. They took everything. Now humanity was taking back the stars. The galaxy was no longer silent. Every few days a new fleet vanished. Whole colonies went dark. Communication lines failed without warning. The Galactic Council called it terrorism, But in the dark corners of space, everyone knew humanity had returned. The Council tried to control the panic. They promised safety. They sent thousands of ships to hunt the ghosts in the void. But the ghosts were always one step ahead. In the command chamber of the hidden moon Erebus, the architect watched as dozens of holographic screens showed the chaos spreading across the galaxy. Every red marker on the map was another destroyed outpost, another crippled fleet. Mara Voss stood beside him, her expression calm. "They're confused," she said. "They're fighting shadows." The architect nodded. "Good. That's exactly what we are." Atlas, the AI that had once guided the last survivors of Earth, now spoke through every human ship. Its voice was colder now, older. "Council encryption broken. Their fleets are blind. Shall we begin Phase 2? The architect's eyes glowed faintly blue in the dark. "Yes," he said. "Let them hear our voice." Across the galaxy, thousands of Council communication grids flickered. Screens turned black. Then a single message appeared. In every alien language, on every world. "You called us extinct. You called us dangerous. You were right about one of those." Then came the symbol. The Earth flag faded and cracked behind a burning sun. Panic erupted. Whole planets shut down their systems, fearing an attack. Military command centers scrambled for answers, but none came. Because humanity didn't want to talk. They wanted to remind. On a distant mining planet, alien workers watched in horror as a massive shadow passed above their sky. It wasn't a Council ship. It was something else. A black, silent craft that left no energy trail. Moments later, the planet's main reactor exploded. Not from bombs, but from a virus. One written in old human code. The same virus spread through Council systems, rewriting everything it touched. It didn't destroy. It exposed, showing the galaxy the truth about the Council's lies, their hidden wars, their secret exterminations. For centuries, the Council had claimed to protect peace. Now their own data showed the blood they had spilled to build their empire. The galaxy watched and began to question. The Council High Command was in chaos. Admiral Theron, an old and respected leader, slammed his claws on the table. "These attacks are not random. They're coordinated. They know our codes, our movements, even our secret routes." Another officer whispered, "That's impossible. No one outside the Council has that data." Theron looked around the room. His voice was low. "Unless someone who used to sit at this table still lives." The room went silent. Everyone knew who he meant. The humans. Meanwhile, inside the stealth ship Eclipse 1, Mara Voss led a small team toward a heavily guarded station, the Council's data core, floating near a red giant star. "Atlas," she said quietly. "Status? Defenses are automated. No life signs detected. Easy prey, they moved like shadows. No alarms, no noise." Within minutes, the humans were inside. Mara placed a small cube on the central console, a gift from the architect. "What does it do?" one soldier asked. "It speaks for us," she said simply. The cube activated, glowing bright blue. Every communication device in the galaxy lit up again, and the architect's voice filled the stars. "We were called savages. We were called monsters. You wanted peace through our silence. Now hear us speak. We do not come to rule. We come to remind. You destroyed our world, and in doing so, created something you can never destroy again. Memory. For every city you burned, for every child you silenced, we are the echo that will never fade." The message repeated for hours. Billions of beings across the galaxy listened in silence. Some cried, some trembled, some cheered, and far away on Erebus the architect watched it all unfold. Mara joined him, her eyes reflecting the glowing stars on the screen. "They're scared," she said. The architect nodded. "Fear is not our goal. Understanding is. But they must first remember why they should have feared us." 3 days later, the Council's fortress world, Varine Prime, vanished from all charts. No explosion, no battle. It simply went dark. When search fleets arrived, they found nothing but drifting dust and a single message carved into the surface of a nearby asteroid. "We remember." The galaxy had believed humanity was extinct. Now every world knew their name again, whispered like a warning, spoken like a prayer. In the halls of power, alien leaders finally understood what they were fighting. Not ghosts, not monsters, survivors. And as the stars burned brighter, one truth spread through the void. Humanity had returned, And this time, they were not fighting for revenge. They were fighting to be remembered. The galaxy was on fire. Not from chaos, but from truth. Every secret the Galactic Council had hidden was now known. Every race that had once bowed in silence now raised its voice. And through it all, humanity moved like a storm. Silent, precise, unstoppable. The Council called for unity, but their fleets refused to fight. Their colonies declared independence. Their soldiers deserted. Fear had become a weapon more powerful than any laser. But for the humans, this was not about fear. It was about justice. On the command deck of the stealth flagship Eclipse 1, Captain Mara Voss looked over the glowing battlefield map. Red lights marked Council worlds. Blue lights, human fleets, spread across the galaxy like sparks in the dark. "Status?" she asked. "Atlas," the AI responded calmly. 17 Council fleets neutralized. 3 surrendered without engagement. Civilian casualties minimal. Mara exhaled slowly. "Good. We don't repeat their crimes." The architect's hologram appeared beside her, his voice low and steady. "The Council Empire is collapsing faster than we expected. They built their rule on control, not loyalty. Once fear is gone, so is their power." Mara nodded. "Then we strike the core. Not to destroy and to free. Across the galaxy, humanity's strikes became legend. They didn't bomb cities. They didn't kill innocents. Instead, they hacked prisons, freed slaves, and exposed the Council's hidden torture camps. In one night, 3,000 alien prisoners woke to find their cells open and food waiting. Her single holographic message glowed on the walls. From Earth with justice. On another world, Council soldiers surrounded a mining colony, demanding surrender. Before they could fire a shot, their weapons melted in their hands, turned to dust by a virus that shut down their systems. Then a voice echoed from the sky, calm and cold. "Violence is not control. It is weakness. Learn that before it's too late." The galaxy began to change. Old enemies became allies. Species that had once feared the humans now joined them. For the first time in 1,000 years, the stars whispered of something new, hope. But the Council was not done yet. In their shining capital world, Elindra, the last of the old guard, gathered. Admiral Theron, scarred and furious, slammed his claws on the table. "They will burn this galaxy to the ground," he shouted. A young officer trembled. "Sir, maybe they're not trying to destroy us." Theron's eyes flared. "You fool! They're humans. That's all they do." But even as he spoke, a holographic transmission flickered to life above the table. A human face appeared. Mara Voss. "This is Captain Voss of the United Sol Fleet," she said. "You declared us extinct. You called it peace. Today that peace ends, not with blood but with truth." Then the transmission cut and every Council weapon system across Elindra went offline. Theron looked at his screen in horror. "How did they—" The lights went out, and in the darkness the Earth flag appeared on every screen, glowing faintly. No bombs, no soldiers, just silence. Hours later, when the lights returned, the Council's military network was gone. Their ships, their weapons, their control erased. The empire that ruled thousands of worlds had fallen without a single human landing on their soil. Admiral Theron sat alone in the dark command room. For the first time in his life, he felt something strange. Not anger, not fear, but understanding. He whispered softly, "They never wanted war." He remembered the stories his ancestors told, of Earth's fall, of the day humans fought even when they had no hope. And now, 50 years later, they had risen again, not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy what strength truly meant. Back on Erebus, the architect stood before a group of young recruits, humans and aliens alike. "You were all born in fear," he said. "But today that fear ends. The Council took our world. They tried to erase us. But from ashes we built stars," he paused, then added quietly, "We are not here to rule. We are here to rebuild." Mara approached him afterward. "It's working," she said. "The Council's done." The architect looked up at the stars through the observation window. "No," he said softly, "they're not done yet. The most dangerous empire is the one that knows it's dying." That night, in a quiet sector far from any fleet, a hidden Council ship activated an emergency beacon. Inside sat a shadowed figure, a Council leader long thought dead. He opened a secure channel and whispered, "They've taken the galaxy. But they have not yet faced what lies beyond it. The transmission ended, but those words lingered, a dark seed of warning. And somewhere in the cold silence of space, the architect stared into the void as if he had heard that same whisper. "The council will fall," he murmured, "but the reckoning is still coming." The Galactic Council was gone. Its palaces stood empty, its fleet scattered, its power broken. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had no rulers, only silence. But peace did not return. The fall of empires always leaves shadows behind. Rumors spread across the stars, whispers of something darker, something older, hiding beyond the edge of known space. Some said it was a remnant of the council, gathering strength in secret. Others said it was a weapon, one the council had created long ago before humanity's fall. Whatever it was, even the architect couldn't ignore it. In the command chamber on Erebus, Mara Voss stared at the holographic projection. A black region at the edge of the galaxy, labeled only Sector 19N Forbidden Zone. "No one's been there in centuries," she said. The architect stood beside her, hands behind his back. "That's why it's perfect. The council hid their greatest secrets there, maybe even the truth of why they destroyed us." Atlas, the AI, spoke softly. "Long-range sensors detect energy signatures consistent with pre-war human technology." Mara frowned. "Human tech? Out there?" The architect's voice turned cold. "Yes, ours, but it's not under our control." Days later, the Eclipse fleet entered the dark zone. The stars here were dim and dying, like the light itself was afraid to exist. For hours there was nothing, no signals, no sound. Then the fleet found it, a massive structure floating between two dead suns. It wasn't alien. It was human. A single word was carved into its side in ancient letters: Helios. Mara felt her heart sink. "Helios Project?" she whispered. "That was Earth's final defense program before the war," Atlas confirmed. "Records show it was designed as a last resort weapon. It was never activated, but now it was active." As they approached, a human voice suddenly filled their comm systems. It was calm, mechanical, and old. Identification required. "State your allegiance," the architect responded. "We are survivors of Earth. We are humanity reborn." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "You are not authorized. Humanity is extinct. Activate containment protocol," alarms blared. The massive structure began to move, unfolding metal wings like a giant awakening from sleep. Energy surged through its core. Atlas shouted, "It's preparing to fire." The architect's voice was steady. "Stand down. Do not return fire. Are you insane?" Mara yelled. "It's aiming at us." He turned to her. "No, it's testing us." He opened a private channel, sending an old code, something only the true human leadership would know. The same code that once launched Earth's last defense satellites. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the structure went quiet. The voice spoke again, softer this time. "Code accepted. Welcome home. Captain Elias Voss." Mara froze. Her voice trembled. "Elias Voss? That's your real name?" The architect, the man who had guided humanity from the shadows, nodded slowly. "I was a diplomat before the war. The council offered peace. I believed them. I signed the treaty that allowed them to enter Earth orbit." He looked away, his voice heavy with guilt. "I gave them access, and they burned our world. The architect was born that day, out of my own failure." Mara stared at him, speechless. "You led us through the dark," she said. "You gave us hope." He shook his head. "No, I gave us revenge, but hope. Hope you gave back to me." The Helios station opened its gates. Inside, they found something no one expected. Not a weapon, but a message. Old human recordings, voices from before the war. Scientists, soldiers, families. "If anyone finds this, remember what we were. We were not conquerors. We were dreamers. We reached for the stars not to rule but to belong." As the message ended, Elias stood silent. He whispered, This is what they feared, not our weapons. Our will to rise again." Mara turned to him. "Then we show them who we truly are." He nodded. "Yes, no more vengeance. It's time for something greater." Back in the heart of the galaxy, the transmission went out, this time from humanity. It spread across every world, every ship, every being. "We are the children of Earth. We do not seek revenge. We seek truth. The council ruled by fear. We rise by choice. The reckoning is not our anger. It is our awakening." Across the stars, billions listened. Oppressed worlds began to rise. Old enemies reached out with open hands. The galaxy began to change again, not through war but through unity. When the message ended, Elias, the architect, looked up at the stars one last time. "Maybe now," he said quietly, "they will finally understand what humanity truly is." Mara smiled faintly. "And what's that?" He looked at her. "A reminder that hope is stronger than extinction." That night, as the fleet left the dark sector behind, the Helios station powered down, its last light fading into the void, but not before sending one final message into deep space. When humanity finally struck back, it wasn't vengeance. It was evolution. Years passed. The fires of war faded, and the stars grew quiet once more. But this time, the silence was not made of fear. It was peace. Across the galaxy, worlds that had once bowed to the Galactic Council now stood free. Planets rebuilt their cities, trade returned, and children laughed under skies that had not seen war in generations. And among them, humanity walked again, not as conquerors, not as ghosts, but as equals. The United Systems of Sol was born, an alliance of hundreds of species led not by power but by choice. Its emblem was simple, a hand reaching toward a star. On the capital world of New Sol, humans and aliens worked side by side. Scientists built ships that could travel beyond the known galaxy. Farmers grew food for planets light years away. The AI Atlas now served not as a weapon, but as a teacher, guiding civilizations that were once enemies. Every school in the galaxy taught the same history, the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of humanity. It was no longer a story of destruction, but of endurance. And yet, for all their progress, some still whispered about the architect, the man who led humanity's return, then vanished after the reckoning. Some said he died in the Helios station. Others said he became part of Atlas itself, his mind uploaded into the stars. No one knew the truth, but his message lived on in every world that had once feared the name human. Mara Voss stood on a cliff, overlooking the shining seas of New Sol. The wind carried the smell of salt and metal, and the faint hum of ships taking off in the distance. A group of alien children ran past her, laughing, waving small flags with the Earth symbol, not as a warning, but as a sign of hope. She smiled softly. Once she had seen humanity's end. Now she was watching its beginning. Atlas's voice came through her earpiece, calm and warm. "Captain Voss, the Council archives are fully decoded. Would you like to view the final entry?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Play it." A projection appeared before her, the old Council's final transmission never broadcast to the public. It showed a frightened alien leader speaking moments before their collapse. "We feared them because we could not understand them. They built with chaos, but they loved with purpose. They were not like us, and that was our mistake." The recording ended. For a long time, Mara said nothing. Then she whispered, "You feared us because you never saw us. You saw our strength, but not our heart." Later that night, Mara entered the Hall of Memory, a vast chamber where a single flame burned at the center, a symbol of Earth. Around it were thousands of names, soldiers, scientists and civilians who had died in the war long ago. She placed her hand on the wall and closed her eyes. "For every voice that was silenced," she said softly, "we speak now. For every life lost, we live better." A gentle light glowed beneath her hand as if the wall itself responded. Atlas spoke quietly. "Do you think he would be proud of what you've done?" Mara smiled faintly. "He already was. He just never said it." Beyond the galactic rim, far from any known system, a small ship drifted through the void. Inside sat a single figure, old, calm, watching the stars. It was Elias Voss, the architect. He had chosen exile, letting the new worlds rise without him. His eyes reflected the infinite stars ahead. Atlas's soft voice echoed through the ship. "Destination?" Elias smiled. "Beyond the edge. Let's see what's waiting." The ship's engines flared to life, glowing blue against the blackness. As it disappeared into the unknown, a final message transmitted back to New Sol. If we are to lead the stars, we must first learn from them. Humanity's journey never ends. It only changes. Back on New Sol, that message played in every city. People stopped what they were doing, looking up as the words echoed through the air. And for a brief moment, across thousands of worlds, the galaxy stood united, not in fear, not in war, but in understanding. Mara looked to the heavens, her voice quiet. "Safe travels, Architect," she said. "Wherever you go, we'll follow, not as soldiers, but as dreamers." As the twin suns rose over the new world, their light spread across oceans, cities, and forests. The flame in the Hall of Memory burned brighter, and in its reflection, the stars themselves seemed to whisper. When humanity finally struck back, the galaxy learned what hope truly meant, and somewhere, beyond the edge of the known universe, a new dawn began, the dawn beyond the stars.